The one and only BWISE in the building.
So, my bro.
How you doing, my boy?
I'm coolin', man. Good to be here.
Nice. Thanks for giving us your time, bro.
OJ, man. Thanks for having me.
No, good. Now let's get straight into it. Summer Freaks.
Yeah.
And I believe you shot a video, but you ended up releasing a lyric video.
Yeah. So,
what was the story behind that?
not too much really. It's just we ended up basically, we shot a bunch of different scenes for the for an overall visual. But we ended up deciding to pull it back to a visualizer instead. There was a few things that worked, a few things that didn't work, so we ended up pulling it back to just make it more of a lyric video visualizer piece.
100. How you feeling with the feedback with that? Liking it?
Man, like overall, like my feedback from like the song itself and everything has been good. Just seeing how people, like I guess the whole thing was because we did this maybe about late last year. And then, we started tying it off, and I was just like, look, let's get this out before the end of the summer, like, which is Australian summer. So it was like the last weekend, but we felt that like the song, and I felt the song had that vibe, kind of like just to give you that energy and that warm feel all the way through the year out.
Definitely summer vibes, bro. What ideas came about in order to make that song?
The song itself, like, basically, so we kind of work a bit in a way of, for like myself, so shout out to Minor Crooks and obviously on the record, and then shout out I Am Solo, who primarily produced the song, and then we have Uno Stereo, who's from Melbourne, who also did the co-production. It was just like me and Minor basically, I was trying to find a song for us throughout the year. As I'm on this project that I'm working on, it's fairly collaborative. So, we tried a few different ideas, and then this one was just one that sort of came to my attention, that he kind of even started as well with Solo. And then I just jumped in with Solo, showed me the record, and I was just like, let me just do something a little here and play around with it. And then we kind of know how we vibe. I come back from Melbourne, showed it to Crooks, and I was just like, bruh, like, check this vibe that I just added onto this song. He's like, yep. That's crazy, and then the rest is history from there, bro.
100. Now, one thing I've noticed about you, bro, like from being around the industry and being around a lot of rappers, is that you seem to be like a very like outgoing person, or like calm and just chill, easy to reach type of thing. And in the industry full of like egos and like just delusional cunts, how do you manage to stay true to yourself and like just be like outgoing as the way you are?
Like I just worry about. I guess that's just the way I was brought up, I've always been shown to show people respect. Not everyone deserves respect always, but like if they earn your respect, and give them the benefit of the doubt. And I've always been that way with everyone that I encounter, until they show me different, or show me a reason otherwise than, not to treat them that way. But for me, man, I'm just chill, man. I'm calm, like, I think like especially now, like so much happened last year, in regards to like the world itself, and still kind of rolling on. It's just like life, I feel, is just too short for just like, the negative energy and the drama. So I worry about, who I am as a man. I'm a grown man. I'm not a little kid out here. I do what I do, and always just try to uplift and just to give good energy to the best way I can and move forward. And stay positive and grow as an artist and as a businessman,
I feel like it really takes you a long way when you're just down to earth and easy to reach, because you can communicate with your supporters, people can run into you, and they can just get an inspiration of being someone from your status, being a musician,
Yeah, man. Like I think anyone who knows me, or if you're like an audience, like if you're part of my fan base, or if you're getting to know me, like, one thing you'll find about me is it's like my story and everything about me is not as unrelatable as anything else, you know what I mean? I come from the same areas as anyone else. I come from the same city, the same street as you, and you know what I mean? I come from like, just a couple of years ago, like I couldn't even, like feed myself with anything, but and then versus now, like, you know what I mean? I'm able to take care of myself and my family through music and things like that. So I did all this, through growth. For me, it hasn't been like what they call it, like overnight, you know what I mean? So like 10 years before would be like someone's overnight success, you get me? So I've always just been, I've trusted the process and just trusted the emotions and just, done that for it.
Right, 100%. Because I kind of done research onto you, and you've been putting in work for a while, man. And like nowadays, I feel like people just come and like go, but like people like you kind of sustain like a long-term longevity type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel being like one of the earliest people to like kind of like put on the rap music, especially the urban side of things, you know?
Yeah.
Like knowing like back then was a bit difficult and now things are kind of easier. Like, what's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, like, I guess the best way to put it, you know, like, I've been, you know, as you mentioned, I've been dabbling in studios, you know what I mean, for probably somewhere close to like 10 years, just like dabbling, getting my feet wet in music and just trying different things, you know. But I think it came to like a point where like around maybe 2015, 2016, I was just like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to really do it. And that's when I went hard with it, you know, and that was pretty much my debut from around those years. So with that being said, man, like, you know, you got to have thick skin to be able to really progress through this business and, you know, through this industry. And look, it's a whole lot of fun as well, but, you know, as it seems on the outside, but in the background, it's a whole lot of work, you know what I mean? Like every day, you know, you're focusing on something, you know what I mean? You've got to focus, you focus on your growth, you focus on your element. Particularly me, I was an independent artist, you know, I have so much hands in my day-to-day. There's so many moving parts that you kind of got to focus on. So as long as you kind of treat it as well like what it is, which is like, you know, something that you're passionate about, but something you got to drive, and then it gives you something you're passionate about and then you're driving. And then so with the focus in mind and the goals set up, I guess it gives you more longevity. You know what I mean? Like I've had some wins, I've had some losses, you know what I mean? I've had it all, but every single thing along the way has just made me like stronger and the person that I am today.
Run us through like what kind of difficulties you were going through like in the beginning of your journey in the music industry and just being in the studios and all that.
Yeah, I think it was just the scope for attention and accessibility. So like what I mean by that is like, for example, like what you're doing right here, what you're doing now, like, you know, when I was, you know, trying to get started on a lot of these things, like there wasn't so many unconventional blogs. It's just like, it's this person, that person, that person. That's what the industry says we go to, and that's what we got. And, you know, so just different things. It's just like, but the growth, because of the, you know, things with how the internet is and with how social media is and with a lot of young, hungry, you know, creatives that are also adding to the culture. Some, you know what I mean? It helps it grow and it helps things become a lot easier in that sense. So like having my voice heard, you know, things like obviously with streaming networks and things like that, my music streams in other countries, just, you know what I mean? And we have more attention now, we have more visibility, and I think, you know, that's made it a lot better compared to like earlier on. It was just really hard to be visible, you know, as an independent artist unless you had like a major behind you. But then with that being said, you just know, you know, like not everyone kind of understands your direction or what you're trying to push. So, you know what I mean? I was unfortunate again that the message and the story was understood.
100%. And because you were like, you grew up in Liverpool, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And back then, like, people weren't really like representing the areas or like referencing where they're from like you used to. And I feel like from back then and now, it's kind of like a trend now, but you kind of been doing it. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? And how do you feel about like, let's say people like Skenzo, like representing like where you grew up and just seeing the new upcomers and stuff like that?
So like, even to give it more context, as I won't take credit for even like for being those ones to represent the area. When I was coming up as well, like there would be groups like, you know, like Southwest Royals, SWR, you know, and a few others, but they'll come to mind immediately straight away, you know, Gravy Baby, etc. And just, a couple more others that in my local area, like within Liverpool at the time, like they were the ones kind of we were like, that were talking about the area, that were searching, that were doing that whole thing. And then, you know, a lot with the guys and the people I grew up with as well, it just became a custom that if we're going to rap and stuff like that, we're going to talk about our, you know, our region and where we're from. And definitely, like, you know, particularly in Liverpool and particularly out towards Oxon Park is where I spent basically my young child years and teenage young adult years, you know what I mean? That's where I did pretty much the majority of my growing up. So I could only talk about that in a sense as well, like my stories, you know what I mean? And it was a variety of things, you know, it's a mixture of things that happened to me as an African Australian, things that happened to me out, you know, where we come in of age, where we become a bit like menacey or become dickheads or whatever the case may be, where we grow into our own and become our own men and everything. So I talked about all these stories centered around 2179 and in that being said, that's kind of where we went at. But now if you look at it, you know, particularly from the area again, and just from the top of my head, like you mentioned as well, like with Skenzo, you know, I see so many qualities in him, you know what I mean, that not to compare it, but like even when I was younger, just that hunger and just that wanting everyone to see, you know, where you're from and your ends, and just and to understand and love your music. Yeah, man, as well, doing things as well, man. So yeah, shout out to everyone.
So you must be proud knowing where the current state of Australian hip hop is at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm. How do you mean, like, rephrase that?
So like, let's say like back then, when you started again, there wasn't much attention to it,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's just like a lot of eyes and a lot of light brought to it. Would you agree to that?
I agree, man. You know, I agree 100%. But that comes with the more growth, the more people that have been, you know, diving into the scene and adding their own flavor and their own taste to it. And, you know, it just grows to wider audiences. And I'm just happy to still be a part of it and to still be able to show and do new things. And also, if I can lead in any ways, I'll do that. You know what I mean? If I can assist and, you know, throw the alley-oop, I'll do that, whatever the case may be, as long as, like, we drive in this region is recognized by the rest of the world for, like, the quality of art and music that we do here.
Right. What advice do you give like young artists that come up to you and kind of like ask you for advice, you know, because they'll probably look at you as like an inspiration or like a mentor, you know?
Yeah.
And you having all the knowledge that you got, you know? What do you tell someone that's upcoming and just like, yo, BWISE, I need help with this. What should I do with this? How can I go about with this?
Yeah.
And so on.
If anyone like comes to me in that capacity, you know, everyone knows I'm pretty easy to find. You know what I mean? I'm not hard to approach and shit. So, like, if you come and ask me genuinely and you show me like, all right, well, this is what I've been doing, or this is my like my hurdle, or you know what I mean, I'll probably just like get straight to it. Like, what is the thing that you're having the most troubles with? They'll say it, and then I'll give a solution if I know it right then and there. Maybe I'll give them some references or something to people to go and connect with. If I don't have the answers or if I don't have the maneuver for them, I'll say, all right, this is the person you need to see. You know, tell them I sent you, kind of thing, and whatever. Because I just remember when I was starting, like, I didn't have any of that, bro. Like, I didn't have anyone to sort of like, you know, to kind of give us the keys, you know. I was with a crew of boys as well that we was like all making music, but no one was able to give us the keys and unlock the keys. And it's just like, yo, here's the code to how you need to do this. It's always so secretive. And to be honest, you know, it's shit's still secretive to a lot of camps right now. People like to keep their wins and how they did it to themselves. But I, to be honest with you, like, you know, we will only grow more if more people come to the table and say, yo, here's how we do this and here's how we do that. So if I can contribute to that, I will.
So you feel like things are kind of like being kept to themselves and that kind of limits the scene and how it's growing, right?
That's just human nature though, right? Like, you know, fucking everybody want to sort of, like, you know, if you're doing well in an instance, and rap music is kind of as well, like, it's a competitive genre and a competitive sport. So if you sort of like feel like you might know something, you definitely want to hold on to that a little bit, you know, but at the same time, that's cool, but like at the same time as well, it's just about like, if there is something, you know, and you see, you know, people coming up or your youngest coming up and whatnot, it should be shared. And particularly like, that's how I feel, you know, even with the African Australian community, with, you know, with where the community I'm from, in a sense as well, like, if there's so much talent and rap music is black culture, 100%, let's keep that fucking, like, facts. So, with that being said, if there's something that we can pass on and talk to about each other in the community, then we'll do it, and we'll try and, you know, to lift each other, because we're a minority here as well, so we just want to be heard too.
Now, how do you feel being like hip-hop and rap and all the drill stuff, like being started from like a African background groups and seeing it take over the world and you being part of that?
Yeah. Like, it's great, man. Like, it's amazing, you know, like we live in a region as well, you know, it's like, it's a great region. I love living in Australia. I'm proud to be born here, everything. Predominantly though, it's a predominantly white country. That's, you know, we know this, it's not a secret. So like seeing rap, you know, rap is international, rap music itself and hip hop music is international. So every region has adapted it to themselves. You know, they do it differently in Korea, they do it differently in Japan, they do it differently in the UK, they do it differently in France. And then come Australia, we do our thing. So up until like of late, like there's definitely been a lot more artists, you know, from a white or Caucasian background that have sort of come forward, but they've also, a lot of them have put the groundwork for artists for this region too. So for me and everyone else, it's just like saying, okay, let's add on to that and let's show more texture, more diversity, more colors and inclusion, which this country is that we're trying to make it to be. So, you know, I hope I didn't go off point too much as well, but you understand exactly where I'm coming from. So yeah.
Now, you mentioned before that you're working on a tape.
Yeah.
Let's get into
album.
that. Oh, album.
Yes, sir.
Let's get into that. Talk a bit about that.
So it's my second album that I'm working on at the moment. We're almost finished. I think we're like 15% done. I'm gonna hold off and announce the title shortly in a few weeks. But yeah, man, I'm super proud of it. It's definitely a project that I've grown on as an artist. My debut album was in the end of 2018, so now like a lot has changed as far as my cadence goes, my music goes, my just my vibes and general feeling, you know. And I made a good chunk of it during a year where we had, you know, where there was racial tension and there was, you know, a pandemic and you name it, and everyone kind of did it tough, right? So what I want to kind of say about this album, sonically, it's probably my best today sonically, but instead of sort of the approach I kind of took on it was more about collaboration, what we were talking about before. So the scene itself, obviously from the songs that you've seen me put out just recently, like with Koj Radical from the UK, 1-4, you know, from Sydney, Mount Druitt, from, you know, with Minor Crooks that I've been collaborating with for years, and it goes on. There's a lot more, there's a couple more names on the project as well, which I'm sure, you know, you're going to see that real feel of community and vibe. And yeah, man, and the vibe on the project more so is just about kind of like, it's about a feeling away, you know what I mean? Not to take your mindset away from like, you know, just sort of feeling down. It's just more to uplift, so if I could put it that way. But I'm super happy with it, and it's coming very shortly.
Now, how soon can we expect it?
So I say a couple months, bro. A couple months. Like, once we tie it off, then we kind of decide, all right, like, because there's a couple more songs I want to drop off it before we put it out, but, and you know, some names on there which I want to keep for a little later, but we can expect it quite shortly, man. Let's just say like mid-year, second quarter, mid-year this year.
Right. You mentioned racial stuff before. Is it racial things in the industry as well, in the music?
Racial stuff, you mean?
Like discrimination and being limited to certain things because of backgrounds and all of that?
Yeah. I guess you can say that. Like there's a lot of things that need working on, and you know, like there's racial. Look, one thing that's like we're saying, right, is there's racial and racial discrimination in all areas. You know what I mean, from the workplace to the out in public, etc. Sexism, you know, homophobia, all these kinds of things like that. So what it is just like this has definitely been a year where people have been brought. A lot of it, these matters have been brought to people's attention and their forefront. So, you know, this is something that I've kind of been engaging and dealing with in industry most of the time, but I'm not going to complain, you know what I mean? I'm just like one of those people, like we move forward, you know, we take action and we make a plan and we push through. And if you can't get through the front door, then the back door is still, I can pick that one too. So it's whatever, but it's calm.
So I feel like with having good talent, that can just kick through any door either way, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you can just connect direct to the fans and no one has to be involved.
That's it, man. Like there is the middleman, but now these days you can skip the middleman as the audience. You know, you can go straight to your fan, straight to the person you care about, straight to the person, you know what I mean? Like anyone can message or DM me, and if I get to it, you know, we can talk directly, whatever the case may be. It's just like the artist now has so much more leverage because of like the way, again, social media and the internet works and accessibility to tools and things like that. So, you know, yeah, there's no issues, mate. Like, you know, the power's with the people. So that's why it's so more important than now than ever for you or an audience member or someone who's a fan to really get behind the artist in the region that you really do fuck with.
100. Now, what's a few things that you see like that can change or like develop to kind of like shoot the scene up, skyrocketing more?
I think collaboration, definitely, from all kinds, you know what I mean? Like, if we all driven for the region itself, then yeah, that's definitely one thing. More investment into young creatives from different cultural backgrounds, different and genders and communities, that would definitely lift the culture as well. And just kind of like, one thing I've been really big on is just sort of like, so hopefully one day we can work on having like this rap or Australian rap music from this region, right? But I'm saying Australia and New Zealand, right? Where we have this like round table where like people who have influence or who kind of make moves in the industry and have insight and also culturally understand this business that we're in, that we sit at this round table and just have like Don talks about how we can lift and how we can grow this scene and make it better. You know what I mean? So we don't see like things being done that just don't make any kind of sense, you know?
Now, some people might say, oh man, Australia doesn't have enough resources for an artist to blow up internationally, so they feel like they have to get out of the country to kind of go global. Yeah. What would you say to that?
To a degree, yeah. Like, you know, before I used to be a bit more like, nah, it's calm, but like I get it to a degree. I think, again, you know, if rap music is the mecca, is back in the States, you know what I mean? That's the mecca of rap music. You know, it was originated in New York and then it's just grown since then. So I feel personally, the way I feel, I'm calm to like, I think you can grow. You can be a massive artist from your bedroom in whatever random state, you know, in Australia, etc. It is possible. But I think when you need the full working machine to have that real global fame and that global reach, even as an Australian rapper, there will be that time you either have to move or live by coastal, you know? And even like before the pandemic, before Corona, I was even myself trying to start making those steps to start living a bit more by coastal. I love it here. I don't want to live anywhere else right now, to be honest. But I do understand I need to travel to and fro to a few countries here and there to, you know, continue to grow and push this movement that I'm doing.
Right. Now, is there anyone that you would like to collaborate with, or like one of the OGs or like up and coming youngins? Like, is there anyone that you're willing to work with these days, or who do you think is the next one up from the upcomings? You
mean like we'll say from here, like, man, it's an odd one for me. Like I have to like kind of think about it. Like here's the thing, right? I really like in the instance right now, right? Like I really like this guy like Blast, right? He's from the States. I've always had a thing. I've always wanted to work with Dom Kennedy. You know what I mean? Like for example, that's just to name a few. A lot of the like from the Australian scene and the Australian artists, I either have or you'll find out down the track that I've actually done some music with them. So like I can't really say that at the moment there's someone that I'm burning to do a song with, you know, besides some of those guys that I mentioned before. But I see everyone is doing a lot of things, and I'm excited just generally about what everyone's doing, and I'm a fan, and I'm also part of the industry as well, you know. So yeah, man, I'm pretty comfortable right now, but I'm sure there'll be some more features you'll see roll out, you know, down the track.
Now, before we kind of wrap it up, bro, you know, is there like a message you would like to leave out there for like someone that's gonna watch this and, I don't know, feel discouraged, giving up on their dreams, or kind of just like needs a uplifting message?
Yeah.
Or should just go listen to your album that's coming out?
Yeah, you could always do that. Always listen to the project, you know, you'll find some songs. But I think, man, in general, like if you feel like you're at a point where, you know, you've been sort of knocking your head against a brick wall, all right, cool, just stop for a second, just recalibrate, you know, sit and look what's working, what's not working, and just change things around you, change things that you're doing, you know, because walls can be climbed over, you know what I mean, or some of them you can walk around. So if you feel like you're just hitting that wall, and it's happened to me, and at the moment when I'm just like breaking point, like, you know what, let me just go away, you know, and just stay on some island or something with my lady for a few months and fuck it. But nah, like if you just keep pushing, you'll find just at that end of that you know, the end of that road, there's that light at the end of the tunnel, so you'll get there. Just keep pushing through it and just change. If something doesn't work, change what's around you and change yourself. That's all I can say.
You're very well spoken, bro. Is that how you got your name, BWISE?
No, man, it's I gotta give credit to probably my old man, you know. My dad was a very good speaker. I used to listen to him. I still do. I listen to him a lot, and you know what I mean. And public speaking is just a thing, you know. I kind of grew up doing, you know. So yeah, that's about it, man, my bro. Like, yeah, speak from the heart, and that's it.
Listen, I appreciate you giving us your time, you know.
Thanks.
Keep going and keep inspiring this upcomings, and looking forward to the album.
Bless, man. Thanks very much for having me, bro. I see what you're doing, man. You keep doing this as well, man. We out here, we're supporting you.